What's up everyone, Lou here for Golf Avenue, and we're back with another major comparison. This time, we're looking at the last 10 drivers to win the Open Championship. This time around, we do have 10 drivers. None of them won twice, none of them was missing in stock. Yes, we have that one gap here because of COVID, but we went further back in time just to make sure to include 10 drivers. So let's not waste any more time and let's get right into testing. Obviously, we'll test one driver after another in randomized order, and by the end, we'll rank them in our tier chart. So let's get to it and test our first driver. And the first driver we'll be starting with is the most recent winner. It's the QI10. All right, so we just finished testing the QI10. It was Scottie Scheffler's driver at the 2025 Open Championship. We know Scottie's love story with this club. Personally, I didn't like it so much when we tested it for the PGA Championship. Actually, I didn't like it at all, so much that it ended up in the last spot, which is the I don't know how they won with that category. When we tested it for the Masters, it was back-to-back winners, so it didn't end up in that same category, but we had the same sort of issues off the tee with it. Now this time we have the Ventus Blue Shaft. It's really, really nice. Honestly, I feel like this one probably suits me a lot better because this time around, the QI10 was excellent. The spin rates were perfectly in my sweet spot. The feel for the ball was excellent. I knew exactly if I was gonna push the ball, if I was gonna hook it. Very, very good club. Now I totally get why Rory and Scottie held on to it for so long. But my final note for you when it comes to this club would be make sure that you have the right shaft in it. Yes, it's a little harder when you're shopping with us with the used models because you don't get to pick the shaft. But what I would recommend is shopping around the shaft rather than the club head. So let's say you see a QI10, that's great, but consider the shaft before you actually pull the trigger because it makes a massive difference. So just keep that in mind, but this time around the QI10, don't expect it in one of the bottom two tiers. So from the most recent winner to the oldest one, we have the 913 D2 from Titleist that was used by Zach Johnson in 2015. This club, it's really good. Honestly, it's still relevant. It's Titleist product, so you know it's gonna be quality. The only knock I'll give it is that it's definitely shorter than some of the other more recent models, at least the QI10. The 913 doesn't convert swing speed as well as the more recent models, but what I'll give it is that it's really consistent for such an older model. Yes, it's the more forgiving of the two, the 913 D3 and D2. This one is the most forgiving one, but it really performed well. What I'll say is that you can tell from impact though that the ball is not going to fly as far. You don't feel the ball exploding off the club face, and the noise it makes at impact is really metallic, if you will. It's really clickety. It's a unique sound that you don't hear too often now, but it's really nice to get back in there and hear that once in a while. So overall, the 913, decent club. It's really affordable nowadays, so if you want something that's not too expensive, that'll give you very decent results, the 913 is a great option for anyone who's in the high to mid handicap range. Anyone who wants to go lower, this can help if you need more spin, but I would recommend going to the D3 if you're someone who has a lower handicap and higher swing speed. So overall, terrific club, and expected to be probably in the middle range where it's still good stuff. With a third driver, we're going back to 2016 with the Srixon Z585. This driver allowed Shane Lowry to secure the Claret Jug at home when the Open was presented at Royal Portrush. But back to the actual driver, I was really pleasantly surprised by it. It's the only driver in this list that has a bonded hosel, meaning that you can't adjust it even with the tool. So this one stays in place. And I gotta say that I think we're missing out on those. They really feel nice. It's terrific. You have a great feel for the ball at impact thanks to the lack of adjustability and whatever. It's really easy to square up. The one thing I'll say about this driver is that if you're fighting a slice, it'll be the cure that you've been looking for. Honestly, I couldn't get anything to go to the right side unless I was actually aiming to the right side. I'm a righty, so if I was to hit a slice, it would fade to the right. In this case, it was almost impossible. There is some clear offset on this club. If you look at the shaft and the angle of the club face, it's really shut. That means that balls are naturally going to want to start on the inside of your positioning, which is very good, especially if you're trying to fight a slice. But if you're naturally drawing the ball off the tee, this one might be a death sentence to you. I really had a hard time getting it to fly straight. It really wants to turn left and keep that ball on side of your stance rather than push to the outside and fade away. So just that one thing, really keep that in mind, because otherwise it's incredibly forgiving. The distance is still there even though it's a few years old at this point. And in terms of price, you'll be paying a very good deal, especially considering that it's Srixon, so it's already a good deal to start with. but since this model is much older, you'll be paying even less. So if you're looking for something that will still be good, and that more than likely will end up in the still good tier, the Srixon Z585 might be the one for you. So the fourth driver in this list, our second Titleist, and the second out of 4 Titleists, is the 915 D2 that was used by Jordan Spieth when he won the Open in 2017. This club is still very good. Again, another Titleist product, so you know you can rely on it. The one thing I'll say is that feel for the ball was greatly improved from the 913 with this one. You really can tell where you're making contact with the golf ball on impact. That's really helpful, and it's really easy to tell if your strike's gonna be good or if it's not gonna be as good. The only knock that I'll give it is that it still has that clickety sound that is really typical of those older titanium club heads. It's really weird at impact, but it's also a testament if you're making a good strike or a bad strike, so that kind of helps as well. What I'll say is that controlling the golf ball is doable. If you want to hit a fade, if you want to hit a draw, you can do both. If you want to hit a straight ball, you can do that as well. So overall, it's a great club. The one small little knock, that's an actual knock that I would give it, and that's a personal thing, the club head is massive. It has a massive footprint, especially when you're standing over the golf ball. It feels like it's really extended. I personally don't like that, but overall it didn't hinder my performance that much. It just really bugged me when I was looking over the club. So if you're like me and you don't like to see a massive club head or an elongated club head, this one's definitely not for you. But if you're someone who's looking for forgiveness, consistency of the tee, and a massive club head to help inspire confidence, the 915 should be in your list, especially because it comes at a very affordable price nowadays. The fifth driver in our list is the TaylorMade SIM that was used by Collin Morikawa to win the 2021 Open Championship. This one is a beauty. It's actually one of our GOATs. It's been up there twice already. It has a really good shot to get up there a third time. This club is amazing. The feel for the ball at impact is excellent. The control of the golf ball is outstanding. You really can shape it both ways, no problem at all. The adjustable weight track at the bottom, another plus that allows you to really customize your feel for the ball and the club overall. But for this club, I do want to say that yes, it's 6 years old at this point, but it really doesn't have any comparison so far. It's insane how good this club was and still is. Find the right shaft for it and you'll be set for a very long time. In terms of distance, I think it's really, really close to the longer models and newer models on the market, but the difference in price will make this worth it so much. Like honestly, the Sim is one of the all-time greats, and in my opinion, it really deserves its spot near the GOAT category, but we gotta test the other drivers before we decide on a final spot for it. So let's move on to the next one. So our sixth driver today is our third Titleist driver. We only have one more to go. This one's the TSI 2 that was in the bag for Brian Harman when he won in 2023. This club is really another upgrade on what we've tested before from Titleist. I said the 915 was a clear upgrade over the 913. I have to say that the TSI is a clear upgrade over the 915 as well. We had the 917 in between. We had the TS line as well in between. So we had a few lines in between, but we've made it to the TSI. I really like it. What I like the most about it though is consistency. I was able to hit my fade very consistently. I was able to start my line towards the rough and let the ball fade right into the fairway every single time. It was really reliable. The only time that I did not hit a fade and I really hit a bad hook was when I hit it too close to the heel and I knew right away from impact where the ball would end up. And that's the other perk from that one, I'd say. The feel for the ball at impact is very good. It's easy to tell if you hit a good strike or a bad one, much like it was with the 915. The massive improvement that I had noticed from this one compared to the 913 or the 15 is the acoustics. It's still pretty pingy or very clicky at impact, but it's way better than it was with the older models. So the weight distribution and the way the club head is built is 1,000 times better than it used to be. The only knock that I'd give it, and it's a personal thing again, club head slightly too big at the back, very extended, not pleasing to my eyesight, but aside from that, the performance is very good. It's a Titleist club, so you know you're getting quality. And if you want an option that is much more affordable than some of the other ones we'll be looking at later on, this one is great. It's really affordable. There's been plenty of lines of Titleist coming out since. They're also great, but this one will match up with the more recent models. In terms of distance, it might be slightly left behind, but it's worth the trade-off for the price difference that you'll be paying. So that wraps it up for this one. I'm very interested to see where it'll land in our chart, but we have to move on to our next driver. All right, so we finished up with driver number 7. It was the Callaway Paradym AI Smoke that Xander Schauffele used to win the 2024 Open. I usually love Callaway's triple diamond drivers. I used to have one in the bag. I really loved it. Usually I love them when I try them out. This one must be the exception. I really had a hard time finding the center of the club face. I felt like I had to give it my all on every single swing with the driver, which, yes, if you're of that school of thought, great, terrific. I'm more of the idea that I want to have a controlled swing that will have precise results. This one didn't allow me to do so. Yes, the results were good when I was giving my full swing, but I wasn't confident enough to let it rip and go every single time with this specific club. Maybe it's the wrong shaft, but I used the same Ventus blue on the QI10 and I love that driver, so very interesting. Really surprising because usually those triple diamonds had low spin. I love a low spin driver. So overall, very surprised that this club didn't work better for me. I was really hoping a lot out of it. On the bright side though, terrific feel for the ball at impact. You know exactly where you're making contact. If you're hitting a good ball or a bad one, you'll know right away. I knew I was hitting a few bad ones, so that's part of it as well. When you're hitting a good strike though, and if you're finding the center of the club face, you also know it, and the ball really jumps off the club face. So kudos to Callaway when it comes to especially distance. They really know how to master that. The spin rates were outstanding. I really liked the level I had. That being said, and overall for any reason whatsoever, it's just not the club for me. I couldn't be accurate with it. And if you're teeing off, especially where we're using right now, the Royal Birkdale second hole, you have to be accurate, and this one didn't allow me to be. So a little disappointed, not a bad product, just a little disappointed. We're now onto our 8th driver, and it's the Callaway XR 16 that Henrik Stenson had in the bag when he secured the Open Championship. This club is really surprising. It's our second Callaway in line, and it's the total opposite from the first Callaway we tried. I feel like I was able to make proper contact every single time with this club. I've really had a good feel for the ball. I feel like I knew where the ball was going to end up every time I was making contact with this driver. Overall, I think the only knock that you could give it compared to more modern drivers is that you might be losing out on the tiniest bit of distance, but the price that you'll be paying for it compared to what you'd pay for one of the more recent models, like the Paradym AI Smoke, you're a winner in this case. And it's really forgiving. It's more forgiving than you're expecting it to be. The club head is massive. The club face is pretty deep and pretty wide. So even if you're missing the center of the club face, you'll still get a very decent result. The penalty won't be so much as going offline as much. It'll be losing out a bit of distance. So always nice not to go too far offline, right? So overall, I really appreciated this club. I'm quite confident that it'll be higher than the triple diamond for me in this list. That being said, I think there might be something a little better, but at the price that you'll be paying for it, it's such a good club, even to this day. So keep it in mind, the XR16, very good stuff. So our second to last driver is the Titleist TSR2 that was in Cam Smith's bag when he won the Open. This club, I have to say, was outstanding. It just keeps getting better and better with the Titleist drivers, right? From the 913 to the 915, there was a clear feel for the ball improvement. From the 915 to the TSI2 across different generations, there was a clear improvement in terms of acoustics, and again, feel for the ball, and even consistency of the club face. And now, the next generation after the TSI2 was the TSR2. It's incredible. It's a crazy good club. Consistency was there. I was able to hit the exact same fade multiple times in a row. It was very good. I would probably give a bit of a shout out to the Azartis CB Red shaft. I really liked it, felt great for me, felt like I was able to put the club face on the golf ball every single time with precision. So really good there. But even the club head, terrific feel for the ball, even better than it was on the TSI2. The club head, yes, it's a bulky club head because it's a TSR2 rather than a TSR3, but it's not too bulky as the 915 and 913 were. This one is really kind of slick, very good looking, forgiving. It's extremely forgiving, more than you would think really. Not too much where it overspins the ball, just good enough that even if you miss the center, you're not gonna get the worst penalty of all time. So the XR16 and the TSR2 right now, they're probably looking like the ones that have the best shot at the top spot. We still have to try our M4 before we're done, but the TSR2, I love this club. The GT line and the GTS line have come out since, so you can get these ones at a very, very reasonable price online. So last but not least, we have the TaylorMade M4 that was used by Francesco Molinari to win the 2018 Open. I'm really surprised he used that driver, honestly, because I had a hard time finding my comfort with it. It's supposed to be more of a forgiving driver that helps with higher launch angles and spin rates. I'm guessing that Francesco probably launches the ball very low naturally, so he's using this driver to help him get a little more height on it and maybe a little more spin just to get it to stop when it's rolling down the fairway. Because otherwise I don't understand why he would pick this driver. Yes, it's forgiving, don't get me wrong. If you're missing the center of the club face, the club head is pretty wide enough and the club face is pretty wide so that off-center strikes won't lose as much distance, won't be that far offline. That being said, if you need to fight a slice, that's probably not the one for you. Rather, what I would say is consider the D-type, the M4 D-type, which is specifically made to have a draw bias to counter the effects of a slice. So keep that in mind if you're shopping for the M4. But overall, if you're someone after a forgiving driver that will help with launch angles and spin rates, this one is probably good. It wasn't really my favorite. Probably could be the shaft, just could be that the feel of the club face was a little too bouncy or just too spinny, but I just couldn't quite find my comfort with it. I was very consistently hitting a fade though. So like I said, if you're trying to counter that, the slice or anything like that, this one is definitely not for you because it has a tendency to let the ball go to the right. But if you are someone who tends to hook the ball and wants to get rid of that, this could be your solution right here. Although I'll say that even if you're hitting a poor strike near the heel, it will turn into a hook regardless. So now that we've covered all of our drivers, there's only one more thing to do, and it's to put them in their final rankings. Now that I've given you my feedback and we've compiled all the data, there's only one more thing to do, and it's rank our drivers. Let's start with the bottom category. How did they win with this? Well, today we don't have any driver in this category. That's a good news. I will say that one of them came very, very close to ending up in this position, but it just squeaked out. Moving on to the not for me category, we do have a few drivers in that category that are really fitting in my opinion. They were decent clubs, probably good for some people, just not good for me at all. So let's start with the AI Smoke. I really couldn't find my comfort with it. It was the driver that came close to ending up in the bottom tier, but really I tend to like the triple diamond stuff. I just probably didn't have the right shaft or couldn't find it properly to contact or make contact with the center of the club face. I just couldn't get it going this time around. So unfortunately, it has to end up in this tier. Next up in this category, we have the Srixon Z585. I really thought I was going to love that club for all its great attribute like forgiveness and exploding of the club face and the bonded hosel, but I turned out that I didn't like it at all. It just wasn't right for me. I don't know if it was a case of the shaft, which could be. I don't know if it was a case that the club face was really close with the offset. I think that might be the issue because I was hitting so many hooks that I would not typically hit with a driver. So that being said, terrific club for someone who needs help, especially someone who's fighting a slice, but for me, just not for me. The next driver in this category is the TaylorMade M4. It was the last driver we tested. I just couldn't really find my comfort here again. Much like this Z585, it's a great club if you need help off the tee to get the ball higher with more spin. I will say that contrary to the 585 though, if you're someone who needs help to fight the slice, this one won't be for you. This one is probably more for someone who's fighting a hook right in the slice, because I felt like I was sending a lot of golf balls to the right that were never turning back to the middle, or vice versa. If I was setting up to the inside, those balls would then turn either in the fairway or a little further right. So if you're someone who needs help off the tee and need help to fight a hook, consider the M4. Otherwise, if you're someone who's more like me, might not be for you at all. Moving on to the still good stuff category, we have a nice Titleist presence in there. So let's start with the oldest model, the 913D2. Yes, it's the oldest model in our list, but it still feels great. It still performs admirably well. Yes, you're giving up a few yards. There's no debating that. But what you're giving up might totally be worth it when it comes to the price that you'll be paying at the end of the day for that driver. Still very forgiving. The feel for the ball could definitely be better. We've addressed that already in the review. But I think it makes for a terrific club option for someone who's only getting into the game or for someone who's looking to upgrade from their relative's old 1980 small club head driver. This is a bulky club head that will help you make contact off the tee and that will inspire confidence in many players. So if you're a beginner or a handicap golfer on a budget, really consider the 913. But that being said, if you have a little more money to spend, you should consider its successor, the 915 D2. Like I said already, the feel for the ball was enhanced, the forgiveness was enhanced. The sound and the acoustics are still not there, but that's not a big issue. In terms of distance, yes, you're getting an incremental gain over the 913, but not that much really. It's really the main difference when it comes to feel for the ball and forgiveness. So if you have a little more budget, go towards the 915. If you're really more of a tighter budget, 913. And one more thing with the 915, don't forget the club head is really larger. It really extends to the back. So if that's something that causes you issue, really puts you at discomfort when you're standing at address, just keep that in mind. You might want to go for the 913 over the 915. And the third driver in this category, again, another Titleist driver. This time it's the TSI 2. Like I said, it was another improvement over the 915. The acoustics were much better. The feel for the ball was again enhanced. Distances were much better this time around. The ball really flies off the club face, much more like a modern driver. The only knock I'll give it is that it's not the most forgiving out there. Yes, it's a TSI 2, so it's more forgiving than the TSI 3, for example, but it's not necessarily the most forgiving out there. That being said, very consistent, easy to hit, and the club head is big enough to make contact even if you're off center. So if you have more budget here again, consider TSI 2. It's a terrific option for high to mid handicappers, and it's even better than the 913 or the 915. So let's move on to the cream of the crop here. We're getting into it with the top-notch category. Those drivers are outstanding. I personally would put any of them in my bag without even batting an eye today or tomorrow. I don't care. Really what I mean by top-notch is that these clubs are really the elite of the elite, but they're not quite the GOAT. So let's start with the oldest model in this category. One driver that could have made the case for the top spot in this chart, it's the TaylorMade SIM. This time around, I just couldn't get it to be as consistent or have as good of a feel for the golf ball as I did with previous tests. Don't get me wrong, the feel for the golf ball is outstanding. The TaylorMade SIM is world renowned as one of the best drivers of all time. So really, it is one of the better ones, but it just didn't work for me as well this time around. That being said, it's a terrific club, not the most forgiving. Keep that in mind. You really have to have a decent swing speed to get the most out of it. But if you want something that you'll be able to shape off the tee, trust off the tee, and we have a nice look when you're standing in address, the SIM is a great option. And the best part is that it's much cheaper than one of the models that would have been released over the last 2 or 3 years. So it's still a great deal, and the performance that it'll give you is just as good. But next in this category, we have another Titleist driver. This time is the TSR 2. You've already seen my feedback on it. It's an outstanding driver, easy to feel, very, very, very consistent with the golf ball. The golf ball just flies off of it. Honestly, there's almost nothing to knock when it comes to that one. I was lucky enough to have the right shaft in it, I believe, so that it really felt like the perfect club for me. But there was one club in this whole test that felt even better, and we'll cover it in a second. But before we get there, we'll look at the third driver in this category, and it's the TaylorMade QI10. It ended up in the last bottom category when we did the PGA Championship review, but this time around, it's in the second best tier, and for a good reason. I had the right shaft in it this time around, I believe, with the Ventus Blue. I was able to put the ball where I wanted, have a terrific feel for the ball at impact. I've mentioned this many times before, but I game a QI10 LS, and I love it. So it was always odd to me that the base or the core QI10 model didn't feel right for me. Finally, we managed to make it work. It felt great, and it's truly deserving of its high hand position in this charting. And last but not least, you've been waiting for it. You've probably guessed by now with the process of elimination, we have the Callaway XR 16. And I'm as shocked as you are, honestly. I'm not the biggest fan of Callaway products. I don't typically game their clubs. I've had Callaway products in the past that were good. I didn't have any problems with them, but I'm just not the biggest fan of their stuff usually. But I have to say that with the XR 16 in my hands, every single time I was coming down on the golf ball, I was very confident I was gonna smash in the middle of the club face, get a good result, and get the ball where I wanted it to go. And the great thing about the XR 16 is that regardless of your skill level, you'll be able to make it work for you. If you're someone who's on the higher side of the handicap spectrum and needs a little more help of the tee, a little more forgiveness, well, lucky for you, the XR16 has a massive club head and is very forgiving even on off-center strikes. You're someone with a lower handicap and you're looking for more control over the golf ball, well, this one is still very good for you. I'll say though, the only caveat that I'll say is that if you don't need extra spin, you might want to consider the XR16 Pro, which is the lower spin model of the two and has more forward weight to limit really spin and launch at impact. But that being said, it's an excellent club. I would put it in my bag today. I love my QI Titleist, like I said, but this one I would put it in there without even batting an eye and even thinking about it twice. So there you have it, our full ranking from the GOAT all the way down to how did they win with this. Lucky for us this time around, we don't have any in there, so that's even better. But I just wanted to take a moment to thank you guys for watching this video. We always appreciate doing these for you. It's always a fun time because it allows us to go back and look at the history of major tournaments. But as always, if your opinions differ from ours, let us know how your tier list would look like with the drivers that we had today. And while you're at it, why don't you leave a like on this video and subscribe to Golf Avenue's channel for even more comparison tests and look back at older clubs that left a mark on golf history. So for Golf Avenue, I've been Lou. Until next time, see ya.